Welcome everyone, KD here, and this is my tutorial about blueprints, classes, and how to communicate between blueprints, part number 6, if I'm not wrong right now. I record this everything after each other, so I'm not 100% sure anymore. No, it's part 6, I guess. This will be about animation blueprints. Again, this will be very short. This won't go into details about animation blueprints, just how can you create it and how can you communicate between different blueprints with the animation blueprint. So to create new, we go to add new, and we go here to animation. That's probably the simplest part. We could also go over blueprint class and press animation and search for it, but we can also here animation and then animation blueprint. So the thing with animation blueprint is you have to select a skeleton. You can't use the same blueprint animation blueprint for different skeletons. What kind of makes sense, because you can't even, I don't think, at least the 3D modeling programs I know, you can't create the same one animation for different skeletons or armatures or however you want to call it. An animation is always binding on only one skeleton and can't be just transferred to another skeleton. So that's why you can't, if you create an animation blueprint, you have to select the skeleton. So we select test dummy skeleton. Like always, please label the stuff and don't follow my example I do in here. When we open this up, it looks like this. So also, I personally like to use, even for the same skeleton, different animation blueprints, but that's again kind of preference. But for me, kind of is, for me, it's kind of like, if I change between idle animations, then I almost certainly create a new blueprint just to have this a little bit different. So maybe you have a idle animation for when nothing happens, when it's peaceful. You have an idle animation for combat. You maybe have different idle animations for different weapons and things like that. And if you switch between idle animations, I mostly create a new animation blueprint, and then I will change in the actor itself. I will probably go a little bit into it in this tutorial, how you can then switch between these animation blueprints. It's just for me, I really don't like to put too much into one thing. I kind of like two separate things. Again, this is preference for me. You of course can put every single animation into one animation blueprint. That's all about you. So that's how everything looks like in the animation blueprint. It looks very similar to the other blueprints. It has a little bit more function. On the left side you see a preview. Right now nothing. He's just in his T-pose, our test dummy here. And then here we have our graphs, our variables, functions, and so on you can create here. So you can create variables in here too. On the right side you see the animations I created for this test dummy. We have idle test, idle to walk test. I don't know what key action is, and we have greetings. So the first thing we want to do, we want to set our idle animation. For that, we have here, here again, we have our event graph. Come to this a little bit later. First to animation graph. In here, we can set our animation. First thing we do is into the result, we do a new add new state machine. Double click this, and here we have an entry, and here we can set our animation. As example, our idle animation. We just can bring this in here and connect this with the entry. Compile this. Now we see we changed it here, so now we set the idle animation to our standard. So T-pose is not our standard anymore, it's the idle animation. So every time we load the game and play this animation blueprint, have this animation blueprint on our character, we have this idle animation. And that's why I say that's why I say I create mostly for different idle animations, different blueprints. And then even for cutscenes and things like that, I also like to create different blueprints, animation blueprints, just so not everything is really clustered to one thing. But of course, if you have different idle animations, you can also switch between them in here, and that's what I want to show you now, is kind of how can I change between animations. So let's just put in another animation, it doesn't matter. Now when we have another animation in, we can here connect them with arrows, and of course the arrow shows in which direction we go, and here we have our condition we can select in here. As example, if we now created a variable, just a boolean, can press this in here and select this. So if this is true or false, if this is true, we change to the greetings variable. If it's false, we keep it in our idle variable, and then we can set, of course, a condition to go back to our idle animation. Most of the time this is not enough, so in here, I mean, this is not new. Here we can do a lot of different commands. One of the most useful ones, and that's one I want to show you, is called remaining time, not remaining ratio, time remaining ratio, time remaining, just time remaining test dummy, idle animation. And then what we can do here is, as example, doing a smaller 0.1. What does that mean? Again, the output is a boolean, true or false. So if the animation is half done, this will still be false. So as example, if we just put this in here, if the animation is half done, this will still be false, and we don't jump to the next animation. We only jump to the next animation if the time remaining is less than 10% of the animation. Why do we do this? Is that we have mover transition between animations. If we just put in a condition, then we may cut in the middle of an animation and then kind of jump to the next without any transition. This may look strange, and sometimes we don't want that. Maybe sometimes there are reasons we want to jump directly. As example, if an enemy is running to it, running towards you, and you shoot him, and then you want to have an impact that's an effect on him with an animation, so he kind of falls back or anything like that. Then you may want to have a different transition and an immediate effect, and not when the animation is finished. So of course you can combine this, as example, with a hand, and then combine it with this one here. So now both probe inputs have to be true if you want to switch to the idle animation. So in here we can of course also select our idle animation in here, and then we have here on the right side some different options. There are most of the time we have two types of animation. We have loop animations, and we have not loop animations. These are start animation, end animation, bridge animations. So what are loop animations is, of course, it starts at one point, and as soon it ends, it starts again. So as example, idle animations are always loop animations. Walk animations, run animations, swim animations are loop animations. Now an attack, let's say a sword swing or so, it's not a loop animation, it's just one animation that starts at one point and ends at another point, and then maybe another animation will play. Maybe there will be a second attack, a second sword swing, or anything like that. But it's not a loop animation. We don't want to repeat it over and over and over again. So here we can easily select it. Do we want to loop it or do it just once? So if I compile this, he will do it just once, and I can't even do this. Oh, no, it's something else. So he will just do it once, and then he will freeze in the last position. If we press this in here and compile this, then he will be back in his loop animation. Then we can change the play rate. That means the speed of the animation. So we can make it extremely slower, as example, or of course you can do it very fast. Now he does idle animation very fast. This is useful for if you want to create animations with a lot of frames. I don't know if it's with every 3D modeling program, but the one I use, Blender. If you, like, say, create an animation with 60 frames and you want to have this in 1 second, and then you bring this over to Unreal Engine, then this 60 frames will not be calculated as 1 second. So you can change here the rate time and make it 1 second, and you still have this 60 frames for your animation. And it's also useful to really check the time between the different animations. Maybe sometimes if you have a sequence of animations, then maybe one animation is too fast, then you can slow it down here, or it's too slow, then you can make it faster, and things like that. So now I want to show you how you can communicate with other blueprint. So first, how can you call a variable or anything like that? So maybe the variable you create in here is not the one that changes your animation. Maybe it's an external variable. Maybe it's one you want to save from your save blueprint. Maybe it's the one you have created in a separate blueprint. How can you get this? And for that we have to go to the event graph, the event blueprint update animation. We use this event directly in here, and then it's exactly the same we do always. Get actors of class. Let's get our new blueprint here. Then get copy. And then this is new blueprint. Get var is our reference to our safe blueprint that I called very clever new variable 0. And from here, this is now a reference to this here, and we see here we have here a variable that is called new variable 0. So just so it's very confusing. So do we want to change this? Let's call this animation. Compile and save. And then we go to our animation blueprint, and we can now from here get our animation. And what we can do here now is set the variable we created in here and then connect this. This one here is event tick. So now the game will check all the time. All the time if the actor that has a connection to this animation blueprint is in the map. Then it will check all the time the state of this variable and then change it to this variable, and this variable will then have an effect on here on the animation. I hope this is clear, because in here we have the variables. So right now the default value is false, so this other animation won't activate. And if you go in here, then this one here is false too, so it won't activate. Now maybe when the character goes to a certain point or does something differently, we will change this variable to true. Then immediately this variable will change to true, and then after the animation loop is under 10% finished, then both these variables are on true, and then our new animation will play. I hope this is clear how I explained it. Otherwise, comment section, please ask there if you don't understand this correctly. That's one way. So that's how we can call in variables from other blueprints or from the safe blueprint. Of course, we can also get just variables from the active blueprint. We don't have to take one from the safe blueprint. I don't even know. I think I have the 111 in here. Yeah. So that's in new blueprint. I created this 111. So we can also get this one in here, or we can get direct from the save file. However you like it more. maybe this is not something you want to save. So now how can you call an animation blueprint? And that's only possible in our character blueprint, or if you have an NPC with a skeletal mesh and animations, then also active blueprint. We have to do this in the event graph. And this function is should be called set animation instance class for mesh. It looks like this, and here we can select our class, and that's new animation blueprint selected in here. You can also, instead of that, if you have really only one animation blueprint for one character, then you can just select it in here, select the mesh, then here animation class, and select our new animation blueprint, and then it's selected. And that's how you call animation blueprint. So again, you can now create here an array with get a copy, and then make array. Then you can select here different blueprints, like new animation blueprint, and so on. The other one I have is play character blueprint, play character animation blueprint. Anyway, so you can select here the different blueprints, and then here again we can create a variable, and then we can set here I want 0, I want this animation blueprint that is maybe idle world when everything is peaceful, and as soon as enemies come in, we change to our combat situation, and then we set this to 1, and then we change the blueprint as example. Or like I said, maybe you like it more if everything is in one blueprint, and then you don't have to do this. So of course you have to connect this to an event, and then I showed you this, how you can call this event if you need to from a different blueprint. So I hope this is clear. Again, this is not going too much into detail how animation blueprints work, but it's the basics. I hopefully gave you a basic understanding how you can create something in the animation blueprint, and how you can call some the animation blueprints to your actor or character blueprint, or how you can call a variable or anything like that from another blueprint, as example the save blueprint or anything like that. And with that, I want to end this tutorial here. Thank you for watching.